To the channel, everyone. I'm Steve Patterson. This is my brother Troy. We are the Gen X Transplant Brothers, and I think we're going live. I'm going to check right now in an alternate screen here just to confirm that we are in fact live. Troy, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I don't see us as live yet.
Yeah,
My computer, of course, slows down when I do this. We probably are because we've done this before. And the first minute, we're saying, "Are we live? Are we live? Are we live?" Yes, we are live. I see.
oh,
I see
okay.
my face on a thumbnail, so I guess that means we are in fact live. Hold on, I did minimize the one screen that I do need to remain up through this entire time. What we're going to do tonight, folks, it's right now on the East Coast, it's 5 o'clock. Troy, you're in the Central Time Zone. It's what, 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
All right. And so the folks on the West Coast is a little bit earlier than that. But what I would like to do is for us to have a sort of reaction kind of video tonight. And excuse me for looking around. I sort of lost the main page I'm supposed to have to. There we go. To be able to share the screen. We're gonna jump around a lot of topics that we've talked about here on the channel tonight, and we might go long. That's fine. It's live. We will maybe take some of these segments and cut them into smaller segments and post them on the site in the next few days. But we have really 5, I think, different topics we want to talk about, and I've got them all set up here down below. We're going to be first talking. We've talked a lot about our heavy metal years, which oddly for us, as much as we completely identify as heavy metal folks our entire life, it really ended for us around the time of the end of the first Reagan administration. Because by that time, we had gone through seeing we saw Iron Maiden before Iron Maiden was cool, so to speak, and then seeing Iron Maiden again, and then that all grew, and then Randy Rhoades, and of course that was a little bit a little earlier, but at the same time, and Priest and bands like that. And we've talked a lot about them. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to sort of do a reaction video. We're going to look at some videos of what they looked like then. And then we're going to react to songs that Troy and I have not heard. These are these same bands in the last 15 years, which for us, we've not heard them. I assume they still sound like the same bands. We're going to find out. And then also we have we're going to be talking about we talk a lot about Marshall amps here. Marshall amps for us is the end all be all when it comes to that period in heavy metal. And, we talked a lot about our sort of favoritism there. And so we're going to go back and talk about that. I want to talk more about my particular chain of events when it comes to amps, what they were in 2019. And then also, if we were to get new amps today, what they would look like. We'll take a look at the Marshall website and stuff like that. Also, I want to touch on sports. For 17 years, I was the publisher of UGAsports.com. I'm the one that started that website and handed it off to Yahoo Sports when I sold it in 2011. And so that's 2014. I left active duty, you could say, in 2011 because of my illness. That's a whole other part of this. And so for that, sports, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, the Georgia Bulldogs this weekend, a little bit. And then also Colombia in the World Cup selection today. This is going to be a small segment. So for those not interested in that, it's not going to be too in depth because I haven't really gone too much into that in either my own videos here or, with Troy, because Troy, I don't know, has had the same, sort of sports interest background in that regard. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We also want to follow up on the video that I put out earlier today on the struggles that I'm having being a transplant person as Troy, the Gen X transplant brother of mine, who both of us, born in 66, ended up getting liver transplants within 3 years of each other, 4 years of each other in our 50s. What it's like doing that, living as an expat, as I have now for the last 5 years, and some of those challenges, and then also challenges in the healthcare system in general. Like when I move back to the US, which I intend to in the next 18, 24 months, depending on visas. And in Troy, he has some experience or some recent things in that. And then talk about what it's been like in general for transplant people that watch our channel about how to sort of navigate all that after transplant, as far as how it all gets paid for in insurances. And we have a sister who's currently going through some of this other stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I might want to share a little bit of her story that I heard. And we're probably going to have her on. In fact, we will be with Troy. I will be seeing Troy for the first time in a long time this Christmas. Troy, I don't know if I'll tell you about it. That's been confirmed. I'm going to see Troy in Christmas in Chicago, and Trish will be there too. Our sister Trish, the one that I'm talking about. And she too is Gen X. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the whole medical process stuff. And we might have something else we touch on along the way. So very long-winded introduction. Troy, after I said all that, well, I get sort of set up here for the next phase of what's going to happen. I've got an alert message over here on the screen I got to look at. Hopefully it's not saying we're no longer live. But anyway, and get this thing out of here. Troy, any comments so far? Anything I've said?
No, just looking forward to tomorrow's football game. That's always a great one with Alabama and Georgia.
Always a great one.
I always get to talk to friends of mine who are Crimson Tide fans. And of course, after the game, no matter who wins, we don't speak for months.
It's funny. I have a video I shot yesterday as a short that I was going to put up. Then I was like, why would I put it up? Because it doesn't really match anything on this channel. Maybe it's still in Riverside, the program that you're watching this through. I don't know if I can actually log into Riverside and look at that. I probably can't. Maybe I'll post it as a follow-up to this somehow in a reply or something, or maybe we'll get back to it. But the front of our house right now, we have holiday decorations out there. And my wife, of course, well, we'll talk about this when we get to the sports part, okay? Without further ado, for our heavy metal fans out there, rivets up, right, Earth Dogs? Okay. Troy, do you remember where we got those terms from?
Rivet Head came from the back of an Iron Maiden album.
And Rivet and Earth Dog, and there was like 2 or 3 other ones. But yeah, Rivet Heads and Earth Dogs has stuck with me since the days when both of us were able to be so fortunate.
When selecting a name for the band before Enemy, I wanted Rivet Head because Motorhead, Rivet Head. And I came up with the way you'd write it, and I had it one word. And our bass player goes, "That looks like it says Rivet Head, like a TH instead of Rivet Head." So we dropped that.
Was that Kevin?
Yeah. Rivet Head.
By the way, this is my best invitation to my brother, folks. For those that get that and watch our videos. We've gone, okay, so I'm going to try to share this. Rivet Head, I totally remember that. I remember, I don't know if, because you had this whole comic version of your bands, which is, we need to have a separate video on that, because you used to write these entire things out. They were like storyboards about your bands, similar to the way Iron Maiden had Killers. We're going to come back to that. That's foreshadowing. As far as Eddie, we're going to start out there, but we're going to start out right now with that topic, but just wait till we get to the end of what we're about to talk about. But it's kind of like the way that you did that. You developed the whole mythos around it. You didn't just write the song. You're like Tolkien. You didn't write the story. You put the song there instead of, you did the reverse, And so I remember you'd had these storyboard type comics where you draw it out. And the lyrics would be their things, their little, talk boxes or whatever the hell that's called in comics. And so my point in this whole thing is that I don't know when we actually started the actual real band of Enemy with us with real instruments and playing our own heavy metal songs. If that was close to that, in other words, that might have predated me a little bit, but I remember that being a thing. But by the time Enemy came around, you are the one that developed our logo for that, which if you can recreate that, that'd be great for you to draw that.
Yeah, that'd be easy to do. I think I remember it.
Good, do that. I'm so thankful. I have that one picture of me on stage from '83 with my Strat and my Kaler and my freaking Marshall behind me. It's like, oh my God, of all the photos from that era to have, that's just, and I'm wearing a Ghostbusters t-shirt. I mean, it's like, on stage, I had the like red, white, and blue things on my arms. But oh my gosh, I have too many windows here that I need to select from. I think it's going to be, I really don't know. Window. Maybe this is going to be it. Let's just go with window and see where that takes us. Entire screen. No, shit. This is not, here we go. Ready? All right, folks, we're going to go back and look at some of the bands that we talked about so gushingly along the way. And yes, this is Steve centric because I picked these ahead of time, but Troy was there the whole time. And I think he will agree on the three bands that I've sort of isolated here. For what we're going to do is we're going to look at them, how we saw them when we saw them play. And since we dropped out of the heavy metal scene when we did, oddly, before some Gen X people were 5 years old, what they sound like in the last like 10 or 15 years, and do a reaction video. You've seen these things where it's like classical composer reacts to Jimi Hendrix or Grateful Dead or, I don't know, Yngwie Malmsteen, whatever it might be. Well, we're not classical composers, but the way they get around copyright issues, because, and for instance, when we had the Sears catalog thing, there was a segment in there where it played that we showed the commercial from 1983, I think it was, and it had Iron Maiden and Rat and Twisted Sister. Iron Maiden wasn't flagged, Twisted Sister wasn't flagged, but when I tried to post that on YouTube, Rat, Round and Round, was flagged. So that's why for anybody that was watching that video, when that part of the video came up, it was silent. That was the only way to save it. It said we can isolate that and delete it, or you can re-upload it. And I was like, okay, fine, just do that, whatever. So the way to get around that, and the way that people get around it, is it's not supposed to be louder than us, and we're supposed to keep talking over it. So Troy and I are going to basically have to have a conversation over this as it's going. So we apologize for that, but that's why we are doing it. So without further ado, this is what Iron Maiden looked like to us the first times that we saw Iron Maiden. And we're going to react to what it looked like or what it sounds like today. So here we go. Back to 1982. All right, so that
Where'd
was
they do their clothes shopping at? I want to go.
So that is some awesome stuff there. Let me get this out of here. Now, Troy, I want to say I have two. Hold on a minute. Something happened here. I went to the next screen and started playing. I have two concerts in my life. And I've been to over 250 Grateful Dead shows for all you Grateful Dead fans out there. And I do love the Grateful Dead. Don't get me wrong. That's the whole second half of my life. Before that, the two best shows I've seen, even including the Grateful Dead shows, possibly the Jerry Garcia 50th birthday party I was invited to or not invited to, but I was able to attend with Jerry Garcia band. That was super special. But just because of the ambience. But the two best shows I ever saw for like true, like my metal years were the three bands that really defined me. The second of the two was when Iron Maiden played, I think it was like 82 or 83. They played at Navy Pier in Chicago, and it was like Chicago Fest or Food, whatever it was. And at the time I was a total Maiden geek. I knew all the first two albums. And they had just come out with Number of the Beast. So I knew that one too. And so Number of the Beast was the tour they were on. Of course, we'd been into them for all of a year at that point, but, and so they were playing it. It was everybody else's introduction to them. And as the night went on, they got to a point where it was supposed to be over. And I don't know if anybody that was there, call me out. I don't care. I might have a bad memory. Something happened, but they went really, really long in the show. They played for like 3 hours. And I remember I had like a little notepad to write down what they wrote. And I was writing it. And I realized at one point they had played every song that was on all three albums. And they even closed the show with Cross-Eyed Mary. And I was like, they just played every song they know. And that was it. That freaking Maiden show was just outrageously good. And it was Bruce's first tour with the band. And it was the second time I saw him on that tour. I'd seen him earlier. The Scorpions played ahead of him. They were on the Blackout tour, and that was good. Love Scorpions. Another Shanker Echo, Rudy, I guess. But those guys are awesome. I'm not trying to discount them by pulling over them like that, but that show is awesome and awesome. And we're gonna get back to the first best show that I ever saw a little bit later. We're going to stay on Iron Maiden for a second because, Troy, do you have anything else to add about that era? Tell us about the first time you saw them with Humble Pie and Judas Priest at Compton Terrace.
It was at the Phoenix Coliseum, August of '81. It was Humble Pie, whom I'd seen before many times. I loved Priest and I loved Humble Pie. And then who are these Iron Maiden guys? And I didn't know who they were. I saw them. I was floored. I was maidened, I think is what they call that. You got maidened. And and nobody could get enough. They played for 45 minutes, probably every song they knew or could play. Because it was Killers tour, so they only had 2 albums. And then they left the stage and the lights came on and people were booing and screaming Iron Maiden as I was. I wanted to see more of that. I didn't care about Judas Priest or Humble Pie anymore. I wanted some more Iron Maiden.
So what, Humble Pie played first, then Maiden and Priest?
No, it was Maiden, then Humble Pie, then Priest.
Okay, yeah. So, but I know that I say, but I mean, Humble Pie, obviously super
classic,
quality, great.
Yeah, they were,
exactly. What was that show like?
It was crazy. They had I forgot what the album was called, On to Victory. And they had some song on that album about women. And the last song, was I Don't Need No Doctor, but maybe the encore was, they brought out, they must have gone to some stripper clubs or something, but they brought out like 200 women on stage with them. You couldn't even see them. And I'm 14 looking at all these girls going, all right, I like this. And then they quit and Judas Priest came on. That was their Heading Out to the Highway was their big. Solar Angels was the opening song. What was that called? Point of Entry tour.
Point of Entry tour. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Exactly. That was probably the best concert I ever saw to this day.
And we are going to be talking Priest here in a second. That's one of the 3 bands we're talking about. But before we get to Priest, and Troy, thanks for sharing that. We need to revisit some of these other sort of auxiliary bands that influenced us, like with you, Humble Pie. And there were some other ones along the way that were kind of, maybe not in the traditional metal way of being an influence. But here, we're now going to flash forward to, let's see, what year is this? I guess it's like 2000. I don't know when Iron Maiden came out with Book of Souls, but we're going to listen to, and it's long. It's 10 minutes long. So I don't know if we're not going to sit through. I shouldn't say it like that. Sit through like, oh my God, it's boring. I'm sure it's going to be great, but I don't know if we want to play the entire thing here. So we're going to listen to the song Book of Souls. It's this studio version. So we're going to get a clean cut. I think all the original members are in the band still at this time. I'm not, obviously Clive Burr and Nickel McBrain, that whole era ended a long time ago. But or I think Nico not too long ago. Maybe Nico was still here. I don't even know.
Yeah, Nico just quit last year or something, I think.
But so I thought there was another one of them had died. Anyway, that's how out of touch I've become with Iron Maiden, other than knowing that Bruce is like superstar, could fly airplanes. I've been updated on that religiously throughout the years somehow. But so we're going to go to Book of Souls. And apparently this is a pretty heady song. I don't know if you're familiar with it or if you've ever even heard of it, Troy.
I have not.
I haven't. And
anything past Power Slave, I have not heard.
Here we go. So remember, we have to keep
Oh, that's a
talking.
neat album cover.
And off we go. Yeah, I know. Look at Eddie, man. He got all modern. He went from power slave to, I mean, God knows what he went through.
Got his brain back, I guess.
He got his brain back, and he got earlobes. So,
Yeah, well, Eddie, I'm
he still
impressed.
but yeah, his dental issues look to have changed, but his physical body looks normal. He looks good there. So here we go.
He looks surprisingly angry.
Shocking.
Wouldn't that be cool for the artist to do a happy Eddie?
A loving Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie on Valentine's Day. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are going to be pictures. All right, let's listen.
Eddie.
I wonder who's playing the acoustic. Think it's Dave?
I don't know.
Somebody out there tell us in the comments below. If you know this, tell us who's playing. We're old Maiden heads. We're OG Maiden, but we somehow dropped off the radar.
I can't hear it, Steve. I don't know if
you can't hear it.
No, I couldn't hear the Killers one either.
Ah, that might be an issue. If that's the case, let me stop sharing. I don't know if anybody else has. Let me go to the live stream and see what's happening there. If you're watching the live stream, we're joining you now. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. I don't know why that's the case. So, all right, well, that's a bust. All right, so our whole first part's gone. We had a lot of good stuff we're going to watch. Hold on, I got to get rid of all these.
But it was worth seeing them.
Screens. Yeah, you saw them.
Tour. Yeah.
Oh, so you saw them. You couldn't hear them. Sorry about that, folks. We have to get that figured out for next time. But okay, so now it's going to be that much shorter because what I had lined up next. We're going to listen to that, and then we're going to listen to a live version of Screaming for Vengeance from 1982, which is a great freaking song. And then we're going to hear a song from them. I forget what it's called, but it was from a few years ago. And then we're going to listen to Accept, which Accept and Raven are the true blood in my playing. I mean, the Iron Maiden and Randy and all the other.
Yeah, the pre hair band metal.
But the ones that all throughout that era, when I wasn't actually playing Iron Maiden songs with bands or playing Randy Rhoades with bands, when I was at home, I was listening to Accept. I was listening to Breaker. I was listening to, Son of a Bitch. And I was listening to Raven live at the Inferno. And that's what I was going to say. Since we're going to skip forward, since I didn't get a chance to talk about my first favorite show, the first favorite show that I ever saw, it was at the Chicago Metro. And it would have been, I don't know, 83. Somebody can Google it. But it was Raven and Accept. And Accept was on their they were just about to release Balls to the Wall. So it hadn't come out yet. And so obviously Restless and Wild, all the stuff from Breaker, and of course the quintessential, when I think heavy metal, the opening of Breaker, that that sound to me is the definitive heavy metal sound. And the way that Raven approached it with such high energy. I mean, look at me now, Grateful Deadhead for the last 25 years or whatever it's been, but still at the core of all that, when I really think of the way that I play, the core of it is still the energy of Accept and Raven. Just because, I mean, those two bands, for people that haven't heard them, I wish the hell I could. I got to get better on the screen, the sharing of sound apparently. But I wish I could play that. And there's also the copyright freaking issues. So, but that sound there, Google it. Just Google Accept Breaker and just listen to the opening of it, or listen to anything from Raven pre 85. I mean, for all I know, they kept going, but Troy, what do you remember about what? I mean, you just heard what I said. Any reaction to that?
Yeah, but except Breaker album, and I just loved it. The woman had the barbed wire through her hair, her head, her ears. I thought,
Yeah,
okay, I got to hear who these guys are. I
yeah,
bought it and I just loved it. Then I thought, well, I'll get their other albums. Well, they only had one. It was before, and they weren't as rocking. And they were wearing like these satin pink. They looked like a disco
right,
band on the
right.
back of it.
I don't even know. I don't even know how that happened. I mean, at least Iron Maiden has a backstory all the way. There's a 3-part documentary I watched one time. They go back to like the early '70s. I mean, it's crazy. Or not
75. They would
'75,
have
right?
been
Mid
50
'70s,
this year.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like shit. In '75, damn. I mean, Grateful Dead decided they were going to stop touring in '75. It's like that's a major for them to be around that long before we even knew about them. But except Breaker, and then Balls to the Wall, of course. But Balls to the Wall was it for me because again, things changed for both of us after '84. Our lives took different paths that didn't involve music any longer.
Yeah. I saw them on the Restless and Wild tour. There's some band called Warrior, I think, that
Ah,
warmed them up, and they dressed. I bought their album. I want to, or maybe it's Armored Saint. It was something like
oh,
that, where they
Armored
all where I
Saints!
yeah, remember
I
that?
forgot all about
They would
them.
dress up, and I always thought these guys are like stealing the Manowar stuff. They're trying to be like Manowar.
Manowar, of course, is the OG there, but I mean, Manowar, yeah, all their stuff. There was a time when I was in high school that I wanted to like intentionally split my fingernails so that it looks strong because on the cover of the Manowar album, the way the guy is holding the axes, it shows his fingers. I was like, all right, to be
Yeah,
that
I
tough, I have
remember
to.
that.
It's like it was weird the way you had to embody this stuff, but
And
sport.
they came out like the same time that Conan the Barbarian and these Ross the Boss, the
Exactly.
guitar
And
player,
I
had
was
these muscles. They were all muscular dudes.
exactly. And Conan the Barbarian that was like that led up to my Rambo days. I mean, I fell in love with that movie. I had it on the VHS, no, excuse me, Betamax. I had it on an old Betamax tape. There you go, folks. And I used to watch that. I loved that version. And then when Rambo came out, of course, this is what ultimately led me to joining the U.S. Army a few years later. But these are sort of coexisting places. But that sort of tough guy, sort of military, sort of we're going to kick your ass, sort of Cold War, we're going to beat you. The whole way we were raised, we can win, get up. Okay, Gen X, drink out of garden hoses, come home at the end of the day. Nobody's home, latchkey kids. But I mean, it fit so well with us. It was like, okay, you were raised to be a badass. This is what a badass looks like.
Yeah, yeah, that Rambo's. I liked that movie. Not so much like you. I didn't go join the army because of it, but I like I liked that he was kind of this outsider, not welcome. Kind of had the whole heavy metal feel to it. Like, you don't belong here, boy, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, and then also Balls to the Wall fit well with the Conan thing because he was like a slave. One day we're going to
Yeah.
raise up and blah blah blah. How did that? Let's see. You know, I'm trying to remember that. That part where it slows down, you hear the ball cracking,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Which makes
Udo
your
is.
privates hurt.
I know, and Udo Dirk Snyder's talking. He's like, "Wake up all over the world, plant a bomb in everyone's ass, make them scared." All this stuff. It's like,
You get arrested
fight
for
a
that today,
victory.
man.
Oh,
Yeah, that
it's
was
like
crazy.
that was some good shit, man. That, of course, then the MTV
But
video came out, and it was like, all right, now
yeah, then you're like,
it took it
okay.
away. It took it away. It was like
Well,
that's
they
not
had like a GI
theirs.
Joe,
Yeah,
like a doll of Udo on the ball, on the wrecking ball.
I know.
It was just like, wow, that's cheesy.
I know. Anyway, and for people hearing us talk about it like that, This is how Gen X minds of garage band players that sometimes played on stage, could have maybe been better, thought about things. So if it's weird hearing about it now, that's actually how it was in 1983, 1984, 19, whatever we're talking about here. And so, yeah, it might sound weird now, but I mean, that was reality then. It was, for us, it was a sellout. It was a sellout. And it was part of the whole sellout of all of it, going to the bleach blonde and you know, the rant that follows, right? Exactly. We all know the rant that follows. So we were unable to share the sounds of Victoria, but I do want to talk about a little bit about the back to the whole topic of Marshall stacks, which everybody loves to hear about. I wish I should have that photo real fast to always show, hey man, this is me with 183. But I want to show everybody really fast when after the transition that we have not talked about, but flash forward to 2020, when I sold all of my studio equipment. I had a whole home studio, lots of money, and I recorded lots of my own songs, which were on Spotify, but that channel's no longer there. I still have all those songs. But the way that I recorded those, the rig that I was using in those times, I had gone rack mount. And rack mount in our early days was, some people did that, but it was, for the most of us, it was traditional amps, chords, pedals, things like that. But by the late 2000s, or 20, well, actually, this is really the gear that I got about 2020, a little bit after that. And then I had this up until 2020, 2000 up until 2020. So I'm stammering here. I want to share with this, the root of my sound is this. And if nobody is familiar with this, this is the Groove Tube Trio. And let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I can. All right, let me just tell you about what this fucker does. This is, I think, by far, bar none, the best preamp you can purchase for any sound you want to do. This clean sound up here at the top, this is basically your Fender Twin. This is pretty much exactly the sound you would get from a Fender Twin. This is tubes. This is not solid state. There are tubes back there. And so this is your Fender Twin. Number two here, the mean, I don't know exactly which sort of quasi Fender-ish model it would be, but it was sort of like a little bit of a more crunchy sound. I don't even know exactly what they were going for on this one, but it has its own distinct sound in that regard. But this one, 3, this one here can emulate a Marshall stack, and you won't be able to tell. I was able to play through. I was able to play through the Scream channel, and I'll get to the model. I had the Marshall amp here in a minute, but I could replicate that sound exactly, and it was tube. But the problem I had with having a tube thing like this, and by the way, these things are not cheap. This is a pretty expensive thing. At the time, I don't know, in 1990 when they reissued them, because these came out, I guess, originally in the 70s, but I had the brown face, which is this one. No, this is a black face. There's also a brown face. I had the brown face version. But anyway, there's all kinds of other stuff you can do, channel selectors. I mean, you had a foot switch. I don't recall exactly what that switch was. I don't know if maybe that's only on the black. But I'm just telling you, man, this thing can emulate any sound you ever want to have. If you want to do the rack mount sound with tubes, that's where you go. And so what I did from there, you've heard me mention that I also at one point had a power amp that was sold to me by the guy in Athens, Georgia, that was also the guitar technician. Because at the time I had an Alembic guitar, which had 2 truss rods in the neck. And so it's hard finding somebody that can do the setup, and just the neck for 2 truss rods. Lo and behold, I found a guy called the Fret Shop in Athens, Georgia. that could do that. He was also the guitar tech for Widespread Panic and Jimmy Herring and people like that who had guitars like that. And one day while I was at his place, I told him about my issue of not being able to find the Macintosh power amp that I had once had that I had sold, which used to be my power to get to my speakers. And he said, well, look at this. I just happen to have this sitting right here. And this brought me back to the Marshall days. This is the Marshall Valvestate, although I don't recall ever seeing that word or reading it like that, but that's what it was. So this was the power amp that I ran out of the Trio into this power amp. This is not the actual picture of the one, but the one that I had was last owned by Billy Gibbons. He had gotten it somehow. Maybe he was setting up Billy Gibbons' guitar. I don't know what happened, but I mean, the guy was, he worked on professionals' guitars and he told me that and I had it and that's just a story. So anyway, that's what I used to power it. And then from there, let me see if I can I do this? Yeah. All right. So from there, I had a Fender Deluxe Reverb amp, but I didn't use it. I just used the speakers. And so I used the speakers from this to be powered by this to be.
Did that blow the Fender's head then?
No. I didn't use the head at all. I didn't even turn it on. I ran directly to the speakers. I wired it so like, well, there was a box thing or whatever. I had it to where it just fed directly to the speakers themselves. And so the amp, I didn't have to turn the amp on at all. I just used the speakers. I had a special box sort of in between for that to go directly to speakers. But so yeah, so I went from my guitar. First off, I go to my pedals. From my pedals, I'd go into this, and then that sent the signal to this, which sent the signal to that. And so that's what I had then. And if I could today buy a brand new amp, and we're going to get to the Marshall in a second. If I had a wish list of what I could buy today, it would be this. Hopefully it works. Okay, that to me is, I think at this point, I mean, obviously the JCM series, we're going to get to in a second, is great. But as far as versatility for what I do today, and I can modulate stuff with sound ahead of it if I need to. But a Fender Twin, a classic real Fender Twin, like this one for sale on the Fender site, I mean, it's only $2,100, $2,200.
Wow.
As if that's ever going to happen. I mean, even getting a guitar strap seems like an investment these days. But that's not a joke. That would be a great amp to get. And so if I were to ever upgrade from the lowly little Fender Champ that I have here today, that would be it. But getting back to where it all started, this here is what's in that picture with me that I have from 1983. And so this is the classic JCM 800 series. And this amp was awesome. Troy, did you have, other than the one behind you on the wall, we'll get that in a second.
Yeah,
did you have one during this year? You had this too?
I had that thing.
Yep, exactly. That's what, because see, Troy and I played an Enemy, and then after that era, he kept playing an Enemy, and I moved to Chicago, and I was in Blitzkrieg during those early 80s. And so anyway, let's get out of here. But yeah, but so if I were to buy that today, that is 2,800. The Fender Twin is, well, it went away. There it is. It's 2,100. It really depends on what I want to do. If I were to just have something to play with all the time, this would be it. But if I wanted to really have a moment where I go back and just blast the shit out of stuff, I'd want to get one of these, or I don't know, maybe even this one. It came out a few years later, maybe on 85. I don't know.
I think I paid $300 for mine.
Which one do you have?
I had that JCM there on the right.
Wait. Let's go. So you have a combo, right?
Yeah.
And amps combo. I thought I saw combo.
I had the head.
Oh, what do you have right there behind you?
Oh, that is a, I think 30 watt. It's called a MG30FX. That's actually my son's. I bought it for him for Christmas. I have it now because he lost interest in playing. So that's
I'm
what I
looking for
rock
it.
out through.
Let me see if I can find this. MG,
Yeah, MG
which one?
30FX.
There you go. This is what you have. This is what's on the wall behind my brother right now. I wish they'd get rid of this crap. How do I get this out of here? Go away. Okay, 5 stars. Great. No, God. Anyway, we can't get rid of their spam. Okay, what do we have here? So you have a gain. That's basically, is that your main volume? Yeah. No, your
Yep.
master is your main volume. Your gain is what? Does that give you distortion?
Yes.
Right. And bass, mid, treble.
And
Oh, it has built.
all of those are on 10, of course.
Well, wait. We
Or
have
11.
volume. Okay, wait. We have gain, volume, and master. What's up with that?
I'm not really certain.
Do you have a foot controller?
Nope. I just
How often do you play these days?
Not very often. I have neighbors whose dogs like to bark, and when I don't want to hear that, I'll just crank that up and share my musical talent with the neighbors' dogs loudly. It goes to 11.
Okay, hold on. I see a message here. It says Troy's video has stopped due to an incoming call.
Yeah.
I need to go to the live feed and see if you're still there.
Wow.
And
I hung up on it. Was Greg.
Brother Greg?
Yeah.
Okay, I still see you there. All right, so it goes to 11. We got to get Greg on here. I want to do something with the whole, as far as drummers. We've talked about guitar players, although we haven't really named a whole bunch specifically. I mean, we've had some broad names, Randy Rhoades, Joe Perry, and all that, but there's also others that may have influenced along the way. And Greg would be one that would be great for us because, I mean, we're guitar players. He's our brother that played in drums in Enemy at one point.
Yeah.
Small, but he had his own career and he still plays today. And he's got an enormous drum set. It'd be great if we could. I mean, I would love it if we could get hooked up and all play together, and have the feeds come in. I would love that. In fact, I plan on doing that. I wanted to show you how to play your song "Funeral" live. In fact, I could just play it in here, and this microphone probably pick it up, and folks out there listening could hear your song played for you. Because I know you don't know how to play it anymore.
I forgot all of it.
You forgot all of it. I can play the whole damn thing. I even remember the lyrics, but that you wrote.
Yeah, I can't remember those either.
Damn. So this thing you have is $259. I should get one of those. I've got this stupid Champ. That thing probably costs about the same. I'm just looking at the website over here still. All right. So moving on, we're about done. I know I'm going to get chased out of here because I've got other stuff going on. Troy, a couple things I want to talk about real fast. For those that saw the video that I put out about my transplant situation and travel and all that, a follow-up on that. I checked with the VA today and still no answers, no anything, which is pretty much the new norm, I think, for VA. Ever since the Doge thing came out, they closed everything. In fact, we're one of the only places in the world that had an actual VA liaison, and here in Colombia, and they closed that down right off the bat.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that was gone. And so that left a bunch of veterans down here high and dry. And now it's, I mean, it appears that when I go back at Christmas, I'm not going to be able to pick up my transplant meds. So that means I'm going to have to fly back to the United States like in January or February when they get this figured out, just to pick up meds, which is, I mean, I don't know how rich everybody else is, but $1,000 2-day trip to the States is not something it's in the cards for me. I can't even buy the stupid Marshall amp. So I think that's high on my list. But I do, aside from all that, and I'm not bitching and moaning about it, because as I said in that video, it's my choice to do all these things. I'm the one that moved out of the country. I take full responsibility, but it still sucks. Troy, my sister, our sister, Trish, left a message with me the other day, and she's got all kinds of shit going on with her with the medical, this, that, and the other thing, and trying to get things scheduled, and doctors saying they'll do surgeries, but they don't have rooms. It's going to be months out. And I was like, I'm listening to stuff, and I'm like, I'm in Columbia right now, and I'm a resident here. And even though I'm not really one to really enter the Colombian medical system, if I needed something done, it would get done. And it would get done apparently faster than the United States. And, and again, I'm not shit talking and one's better than the other or whatever, but that's just a freaking reality. After hearing what's going on with my sister, I mean, this phone call she sent was like, are you kidding me? That's how it really is. It's that convoluted getting any freaking thing done. And yeah, anger comes out on that because that is so freaking bush league. It's ridiculous, especially for a nation that's supposed to be so awesome like we are. But I also know, Troy, you then the same day, we were supposed to do this yesterday, you didn't have time because you were dealing with something similar. What's going on with you?
Oh, the insurance is kind of a disaster in the well, it is for me. Just trying to get a hold of anybody because my insurance has to be updated by the 7th, and you can't get a hold of anybody. You call, they put you on hold, and then it would automatically hang up at 30 minutes. So then you have to call back, then it'd hang up at 30 minutes. So you just got frustrated. And yeah, just the insurance is just, it's crazy that you I pay money for health insurance, and still I pay when I go to the doctors. To me, insurance, and for me recently, is automobile, home, and health, is like taking your money and just throwing it in the trash because you don't get anything for it. You're buying your conscience with your insurance money. And I almost believe that the healthcare people are in bed with the insurance companies because it just seems so strange that right when you're about to get your healthcare, your premium paid off, the doctors mysteriously said, well, come by and see us in 3 months. And, oh, that's funny. That's when my insurance starts again. It's ridiculous. I don't know if anybody else out there has insurance or health insurance problem, but it's just become ridiculous to have to deal with it. It's almost like you just want to throw your arms in the air and go, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. Happy, happy.
Exactly. Well, that's at the end of the day, man. We're not victims of anything here, and certainly you can call a spade a spade.
No, I'm
Um,
not saying, yeah.
exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, shit happens. It's going to happen. You just got to deal with it. That's just the way it's always been. But at the same time, man, I mean, shit. What a mess we as Gen X have made of things by letting apparently the generations on both sides of us, I guess, make all the decisions. We're not in public office hardly at all. We have, I mean, and yeah, I'm a poster child of it. I haven't voted since fucking 90. And so, but at the same time, I think that, I mean, we're left to hold a little bit of the bag there and the ultimate responsibility. But at the same time, it's like I was watching this thing the other day about all the jobs that are going to be gone by 2027 and how lawyers these days getting out of college are not able to find entry level jobs because the firms are finding that AI can do better than an entry
Yeah.
level person. And the problem with this is that not only is it losing jobs, but the generational exchange of information is going to be gone when these guys that are still there die.
Yeah,
And
it's
and we're not talking very long. I mean, if you're a white collar worker, like an old crusty guy, I bet even if you're our age, right? So say it's another 20 years. But what about the guys that are in their 20s and 30s that are supposed to be the ones that are replacing us or whoever they are? I mean, I'm not one of them, but in the lawyer field, but still, I'm sure this happens across the board. And it really made me start to think, we sit here and we say, oh my God, the immigrants are coming, they're taking our jobs. Shit. First off, if that guy walking across the border with bare feet, ragged clothes is more qualified for your job than you are, What's that say about you? But at this, also, as far as immigration goes and people taking our jobs, say they all are, say we suddenly had 300,000 highly qualified people come and take all of our jobs, or 300 million, or whatever it might be, it scares the shit out of people. AI is going to dwarf that number, but we don't talk about it like that. We don't talk about it like that.
That's what everybody's kind of scared of, is that why are so many people coming to a country to get jobs when there's just simply not going to be jobs to come here to.
Right. But again, for the one guy that got pissed off at me for remotely talking favorable about poor people in South America by saying, I'm glad you moved out of the United States. First off, this is how that goes. Okay. I'm a veteran in the United States. So F off. All right. I am fully USA in this. And yes, it is real. People are desperate in other places, but those people aren't taking your job. And if they are, Mr. Car Wash Man, Mr. I cut grass man, Mr. I pick vegetables man. And I'm not saying that all immigrants are just that level, but that's what you're saying. That's what you're probably saying, because any deadbeat out there that talks like that is just showing their own ignorance. I think that is such an effed up way that Americans look at this. And yeah, this is me being I've lived with the noble savages and now I can say this, but it's not noble savages. It's the reality of the world. You know what I mean? If anybody knows, I might have been out of line by saying it like that, but I get so tired of hearing the way that people, especially now with the Venezuela thing, I follow guys on there like, oh, Petro threatened the United States. Petro threatened twice. Neither time did the president of Colombia threaten the United States in any way whatsoever. The first time that it reached all kinds of the gun tube people, the gun tubers, they started saying, oh, he threatened us. What did he say? He said, if you came to our country, we're going to fight back. That's a threat, because he said they're going to use military force. But he said they're going to use military force if you come down here. Sounds like what Robert E. Lee said. Why are you fighting us, sir? I'm fighting you because you're down here, right?
You're here.
States' right, right. So it's fine then, but it's not fine now. And that's exactly what he said. And the second time he said pretty much the same thing. If you come to our country, we're going to fight back. And so by saying we're going to fight back, we're threatening you. If any country in the world said that it was going to come to the United States and attack us or get off our coast and do anything, and we said, F you back, would that be wrong? No, any country in the world is going to say that. I don't care if I love my neighbor, but if he comes to my house, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And so I know I went on a rant on that, but that whole thing just, as they say, chaps my rash. It's like, come on, man. Can you get out of following your damn influencers? I mean, the reason they say this shit is to keep you hooked, to keep watching their damn videos. They're half informed. Most of them are informed by the part of I'm not even going to go into this any further because I don't want to get myself in any trouble with these folks, because I actually like a lot of them, but it's so obvious that at least a couple of them are obvious mouthpieces. And so, I get it. That's the way it works these days. It's just, you have Venezuela, Maduro calling us colonists. Oh, the colonists, America. Colonists? Weren't we colonies and you were too? I mean, didn't it work that way? I mean, why do you think the United States is going to come down here and somehow annex Venezuela as a 51st state? I mean, we couldn't even do that with Canada. So that's not going to happen. So, but I get it, because just like saying the narco regime of terrorists and everything, I mean, every side has all of its built-in adjectives that follow their narrative, and that's what you're seeing on both sides. And I'm not saying that I champion the South American look on this, because I certainly am, as I've said from the beginning. Sorry, I'm setting up my next prop. From the beginning, I'm fully American. I always have been. I'm a former U.S. Army infantryman, and there's no doubt I would pick up today, though I might be a little decrepit, to defend that Constitution. Not that president, not that anything else, that Constitution that I swore allegiance to. And so with that in mind, I just want to close that rant. Troy?
I think like borders, we should put one up because I lived up north on the Canadian border as well. But just to keep the cold weather out.
No. Let me. Okay, this is gonna sound mythological. Can you tell the story of the geese and the border issue that happened one time on the railroad? Do you remember this?
No.
When there was did you remember you called me when you were working, you were staking the you were doing something trying to establish the border between the United States and Colombia, or United States and Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And something happened where
Yeah.
the Canadians were kind of jerks and you went too far on their land, and you said something about there was the geese involved. Do you remember the story? I could start telling it, and if you remember, you can fill it in. Do you remember this?
You can start telling it. I
Okay, so
remember
this is what happened. This is a story that I remember you telling me. You were saying that you were out there doing this in some regard to the railroad, trying to like get the easements or whatever it was correct. And also it happened to be right along the border. And that you and your whoever you're with had stepped too far into what is Canada. And at that point, here come the Mounties, up on their horses, or I don't know how they were, but
Yeah.
and so they were giving you a hard time. And at the same time, U.S. Border Patrol showed up or somebody like
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
And
both of them were there.
and okay,
And
keep going.
go ahead, keep going.
Well, do you remember the geese part?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you. This is his HE talking. He forgot this. So anyway, what happened was the way that he told me the story was that you were sitting there and they were giving you a hard time. The U.S. people are like, man, these guys are just being hard asses. Just say whatever. And the Canadians were being like, why are you in our territory? This standoff only lasted briefly. And one of them looked at you and said, why are you here? And you said, we're here to make sure that we have no more invaders. And at that time, geese flew over, Canadian geese flew over into the U.S. And you said, like them. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
So tell that story.
Yeah, they want to know why we're there. We were land surveyors. And
land surveying.
yeah,
okay.
We were surveying the Canadian USA border. And everybody showed up. Portage, maybe? No, it wasn't there. It was just a small road that went across the border. And the geese, man, the timing of comedians flew right over. Like, we don't want them bombing us.
I hope that came through. I could hear you partially.
The U.S. Border Patrol wanted our passports, and we didn't have any. And they didn't want us back in the United States when they knew we just walked over the border. The Canadians like, no, you can't stay here. America's like, you can't come here. So what are we supposed to do? Just stand right on the border? How about here? Could we stay right here?
So what happened?
They eventually they let us back in the United States, but they wanted to know why we left the United States without our passports. We're like, well, we just came here to do some survey. I mean, it was 100 feet into Canada.
In the middle of freaking
Nowhere.
How do you say it? Wait, North Dakota?
North Dakota. There's no TH in North up there.
But I got the Nor down. So what's the Dakota? How you say that?
Dakota.
Dakota. Okay, so we have to sound like we're Lakota.
North Dakota. Long O's.
Right. When I spent a lot of time in Pine Ridge, where the Lakota are. And
yeah.
I spent a couple summers there, but so it's like that. So North Dakota. All right, take off, man. Do. Yeah. Remember that? Remember Bob
Great
and
White North. Yeah. You hosers.
You hosers. All right. Well, all you hosers out there, I think this is going to wrap it up. We went a little bit long. I did want to say today that I did watch the World Cup selection, which is like watching spaghetti in a dryer and a hurricane thrown in your face. I mean, I have no idea what happened. I don't think anybody did. In fact, they kept saying that. 68 teams, blah, blah, blah. In the end, we found out where the country where I am today, Colombia, will be playing with Uzbekistan, the first time they've ever even been in it. And then also Portugal, where Ronaldo is, which I remember them from the last time I saw the in Cozumel when I was there in 2022. That's where the World Cup was, and that's where I sort of began really digging soccer the way that I do now, and or football, as they say, it's soccer to us. All right. But anyway, so yeah, so they drew that. So it's Portugal, Colombia, and Uzbekistan. And then their fourth team in that bracket is a to be determined team based on some playoff thing. Again, it's very convoluted. You think the college football playoff is crazy, or championship weekend, which is tomorrow? This is truly a special level of crazy. But I do look forward to the games. Though we will not be able to go to the United States because we don't have visas to be able to go to the United States to watch Colombia, so we're not going to be there. Now, we do have also tomorrow my Georgia Bulldogs playing against the Alabama Crimson Tide, right? Oh my God, here we go again. 7-1 against Alabama Crimson Tide for Kirby Smart, blah, 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 blah. And so this hat, Georgia, I got in the same year back to the World Cup in Cozumel. And so how many of you dog fans out there have a Cozumel Georgia Bulldog hat? So dogs are obviously going to get rid of this whole craziness with getting beat by Alabama tomorrow. Dogs are going to roll.
They ought to be mad because they already lost to them. They should be ready to beat them.
On that note, folks, thanks for being a part of our live today. This has gone on long enough. We have some more stuff to talk about. We'll talk about that another time. Again, this is not really all of what we talk about at well, actually, this is expanded version, but you know, our usual things are talking about our transplants and then about the Gen X metal scene, basically. But there's a lot more to us, and we'll sort of expand upon that as we go forward. We want to eventually get to the point where we're talking about how Gen X people are living today, like us. But we don't want to lose sight. We don't want to get too caught up. How's that for a save? We don't want to get too caught up in today, because I think it's most important that we're able to remember those times for how good they really were. And not like we have to get stuck in them, but treat them as they deserve to be treated. They were special times in our lives. And so when we talk about these things, maybe you were a PV guy, or maybe you had a Renown, or maybe you had a High Watt, and we talk about Marshall, or we talk about Fender. I talk about Strats, and you know, you're a Flying V guy instead of a Gibson Les Paul guy, or whatever. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant, man. We all had our own ways of doing that. And so I think that the value is that you can hear things in here that might bring you back to that time in your own way, because we were all there together. Those of us that were in that early era of the Gen X people, 66, we were both born. I mean, we were cutting our teeth before some Gen X people were even born. And so we'll address that to some degree, but that's really not our authentic place to really talk about, because by 1980, we'd already been through Kiss and we were into Iron Maiden anyway, not to wax poetic on that, but Troy, anything else to say before we close out today's live to all of our new, we over 1,000 subscribers now. You have a lot of comments. Thanks for all the comments, everybody. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That's the algorithm stuff. And it does help us, our ability to keep this going. We'd like to sort of upgrade some of the ways we do this, and that would help us do that. And it's free. Doesn't cost you anything at all. Just do those things, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment. To me, that's the most important. Troy?
Yeah, want to hear you.
Yeah, we want to hear
what you have to say.
Yeah. What do you want to hear him say? What would be a great topic for somebody to bring up?
I want to know more about Marshall. Marshall.
Okay, let's say it right now. Marshall, Randy Rhoades, and what was the other one? The reason we say that is that the two shorts that we have that have gone ballistic, one of them was, it had in the title Randy Rhoades. And then, of course, the Marshall Stack short. That it's like gone crazy.
Marshall.
Marshall. And that's how you even close that. Marshall. We should just change our name. We're no longer Patterson now.
The Marshall
Troy,
Show.
Marshall.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That's
Marshall
it.
Transplant Bros.
The Marshall Transplant Bros. Woo, that's interesting in and of itself, man.
We're loud.
The Marshall Transplant Randy Rhoades Show. There you go. We hit all the algorithms, hot ticket items. And then we would fail to deliver. But I hope we delivered something of interest to you. And we'd also found out, by the way, that 75% of the people that watch us in long form do like I do. I watch YouTube on my television. It's really the only channel I watch. I have Netflix when I watch a movie, but during the day, I put on my favorite podcasts, Speak the Truth, people like that, Matt Tardio. I like watching Valhalla, BHD, of course, David Hookseth. And these are just people in the GunTube military community that I like to follow. And Troy, I think, follows basically the same guys, Sean Ryan, guys like that.
I do.
But when I listen to that, like Sean Ryan might talk for 3 hours.
Greatest.
Yeah, Matt Tardio is awesome.
Yeah.
But like Sean Ryan might talk for 3 hours. I'll have him playing on my TV. Just plays all day. So anyway, so maybe we can be a similar experience to that as far as the long term goes for you TV viewers. And sorry about the audio earlier. I'll figure that out for next time. We'll redo that reaction part with the audio in there. Okay. All right, Troy. So what are you doing? Where are you going to watch the game tomorrow?
Here if it's on, but then there's a tavern just down.
Yeah, and you're going to a tavern as the guy with the
street.
liver transplant that doesn't drink.
Everybody looks at you like you're weird. I don't care.
Well, I mean, they're looking at you accurately, so that's fine. That's been the case our whole time.
See, look at that.
All right. And so, hey, you were shoveling. you had to shovel snow today, right?
I did. Tried to get it out of my way. I do not like the snow. I don't like the snow from the Norland.
What's funny is we were going to do this live about 2 hours earlier, and Troy said to go shovel snow, and I walked in and I said to my wife, my brother Troy said that he needs to shovel snow, and at the time, all I was wearing was my shorts, no shirt, no shoes, no socks, and I can walk outside just like that right now. So how different is that?
Wow. That's nice.
Life in Colombia. All right, so go Dogs tomorrow. Yes, and we will be back. We'll try to keep these lives probably on Fridays. Maybe we'll do some others. We might try to make it transplant ones, rock days. Who knows as we go forward. That's why we need your comments out there, Gen X folks that are out there watching us. We want you to be a part of this conversation. Be sure to comment. If anything else, just comment. Let us know anything. And so until next time, that's all we have here from Castilla de Blanque here in Colombia. I'm Steve Patterson, Gen X Transplant Brothers, my brother Troy. We'll see you next time, man.
See ya. Bye.